Hey everybody, happy Sunday and happy 4th of July weekend. So I said a while back ago that I would make a Tommy John video, and so this is the video that I promised. I promised that I would make a video about Tommy John and the surgery and what's causing it and how you can help your child or yourself to avoid actually having the surgery. I know a number of guys that have had the surgery. Actually, myself, I had the surgery just a little bit over a year ago. So there's a lot of misconceptions out there right now about what causes actually Tommy John surgery. And there are a lot of parents that I've talked to, just going out to baseball games, just going to Little League games lately, seeing what people are saying. They're asking me questions. They all want to know. I'm doing lessons with different kids. And, you know, the parents all want to say, like, hey, is the curveball going to hurt my son? Is, throwing a slider bad for him? Is this, is that, whatever. Okay, first of all, that first thing right there, the pitches that your kid throws, yes, if your son is 9 years old, he doesn't need to be throwing a curveball, because frankly he doesn't throw hard enough to make the ball actually break yet. It's really gravity grabbing that ball and it's just falling, as compared to an actual like spin rate of the ball forcing a downward drive on the without getting too technical. He just doesn't throw hard enough, and it's not worth it. And none of the kids that he's facing are good enough to need a curveball against. He just needs to throw a fastball for strikes. But that's beside the point. That's an entirely different video, actually. So the Tommy John problem, as a baseball community worldwide, we're seeing a Tommy John epidemic right now. And everybody is trying to figure out what in the world is causing all of these injuries and surgeries and need for the surgery itself. I think that it's not just any one thing. It's a lot of different things altogether. And one of those things, I think, is the fact that the surgery is available. And a long time ago, way back before the first surgery was done, the surgery wasn't available. And so if somebody got hurt and they just couldn't throw very hard anymore, their elbow was bugging them, then they were just hurt. They either stopped playing or they just lost velocity on their fastball and it just never came back. These days, with the invention of the radar gun, the common use of the radar gun itself shows us anytime a guy's fastball velocity falls. And it used to be, we used to just maybe say, you know, hey, Billy's got a really good fastball today, and maybe on Tuesday he wasn't looking so great. But now, with the radar gun, we can say, like, this is his average fastball, and he's fallen 5 miles an hour consistently over the last month. There's something wrong. Let's go get him checked out. We take Billy in to have his arm looked at, and lo and behold, Billy's got a 60% tear in his ulnar collateral ligament, which is that ligament that runs right there that holds your elbow joint together. When you tear your UCL, your ulnar collateral ligament, that's how you end up needing Tommy John. In short, every time you throw a baseball, we know your arm goes into this external rotation movement right here. You externally rotate at the shoulder. Well, when that happens, it's like a springboard. You come back this way, and then as you come back forward again, there's a lot of stress placed on that elbow joint right there. And the only thing really holding that together for the most part is that ligament. So that ligament gets put under immense stress. And when you do that repeatedly over and over and over again, without enough adequate rest, then you get micro tears, just like you would any other muscle if you tear a muscle. So when you get those micro tears in the ligament, without rest, it can't re-heal. With rest, it will actually manage to heal up and it'll be okay. And that's why you have to take the couple of months off consecutively every year. So baseball ends for a lot of guys in the end of the fall, but kids continue to go for pitching lessons, and they continue playing catch, and they continue doing these things. They play year-round baseball at way too young of an age, and it causes detrimental damage to them at an early age. That's part of the problem. So when I had my surgery done, I had it done by Kenneth Akazuki. He's one of the team doctors with the San Francisco Giants. He also works at SOAR Medical in San Francisco. And I consulted with him just to try and ask, hey, what's causing all these surgeries and why is everybody hurt and what's this and that and whatever. And we looked back to when my arm first started hurting, which was about 18 or 19 years old. And during that time I was playing really, really heavy travel baseball. And I was throwing out of the bullpen. And in the bullpen, sometimes you warm up, you throw 20 pitches, and then you sit down. You warm up, and then you sit down. And the coaches will say, well, you didn't pitch today, so maybe we're going to pitch you tomorrow. Well, you just threw two 20-pitch bullpens. So you just threw 40 pitches today. Now, tomorrow they're going to have you warm up again. And that's going to be another 20 pitches, plus your throwing program. You might have 50 or 70 or 80 throws there at long toss. And then you get in a game and you throw 35 or 40 pitches, and they say, oh, well, you only threw 40 pitches today, maybe you can throw again tomorrow. As a kid, as a pitcher, definitely as a pitcher, we have a hard time saying no to that. But if you think about it, guys that don't know any better, you're throwing max effort in the bullpen sometimes. And if you're throwing max effort in the bullpen, then you get into a game and you throw max effort in a game. Then if you go 20 and 20, that's 40. And then another 20 to warm up. That's the minimum, I think, is probably 20 pitches for a lot of guys. Some guys go 30, some guys go 40. It's crazy. And then you get into a game and say you throw 40 pitches, you could throw 120 to 160 pitches in 2 days. And then on the third day, the coach goes, well, you only threw 40 pitches in the game. Can you throw again? And there's a miscommunication between what the coach thinks you did in the bullpen and what you actually did in the bullpen. Because throwing off of a mound increases that, it's called valgus stress. When your arm comes back this way and then comes forward, the stress on the ligament right here on the inside of your elbow, I don't know if you can see that very well. I only have the two hands, but see if I can do this. So right there, the stress right there, it's called valgus stress, when that ligament is pulled on and stressed. And the amount of that you get when you throw off of a mound is greater than when you throw on flat ground. And so pitchers at a younger and younger age are getting hurt because of travel baseball, which I'm probably going to do another video on. I have my own thoughts on travel baseball. And there's this giant thing going on with all the parents and kids right now in America. Everybody's got to be on a travel team. Everybody's going to a showcase. Everybody's going to this. Everybody's going to that. Everybody's going to all kinds of these things. And frankly, some people spend more money. They spend more money getting their kids to showcases to get a college scholarship than their college scholarship is actually worth in the end. You're losing money. So that's time spent that could have been spent getting your kid better, but instead you're just throwing 10 pitches for a radar gun and you pay $200 to go there. That's another reason right there. Guys not getting adequate warm-ups. Baseball is an industry and everybody wants to make money off of baseball, but you're not getting properly warmed up. You're going for a pitching lesson that's only a half an hour long, and I guarantee you that half an hour you didn't spend enough time warming up. Because when I do lessons with my guys, the very first 15 minutes, the whole first 15 minutes is warming up. That's why I don't do half-hour lessons. My lessons are usually pretty close to an hour long. And then sometimes I spend more time afterwards talking to the parents, because I want the parents to be on the same page as the player, and I want to be able to build a relationship with the player. But that first 15 minutes has got to be a warm-up. And it takes a certain amount of time to get your legs and core warmed up adequately, and then to get your upper body warmed up adequately, and then to get a stretch done afterwards, to stretch all the muscles that need to be stretched and taken care of, and then to build your shoulder and the rotator cuff and the labrum, and to keep your scapular stabilizer muscle strong and all of that. It takes time. And a half an hour lesson twice a week, it's not enough. So I mean, unless you're doing your own warm-up beforehand, which I know a lot of guys do, and coaches aren't all bad. There are tons of great pitching coaches that make sure that you are warm before you start throwing a baseball. But I also know there are a lot that don't. And that's really sad to see, that you're actually spending money to do something that's hurting your son's arm. And that's really frustrating. In addition to that, going back to the pitches thing, talking about curveballs and sliders and all of that sort of thing, there's no need for a kid who's 8, 9, or 10 years old to really throw one. But the dilemma that a lot of us coaches have right now is a kid is teaching himself how to throw it anyways. And I'm not there at the game all the time to tell him don't throw that pitch. He's just going to throw it anyways. And so if I'm not there to tell him not to throw it or to keep him in check, and a coach is going to let the kid throw it, then the best thing that I can do as a coach, even though I'm morally against it and I don't think it's ethical, is to teach the kid the right way to throw that pitch the safest way possible that won't hurt their arm, or that will hurt their arm less. Because a lot of kids are still doing this thing when they throw a curveball. They're turning that wrist, and just from a biomechanical standpoint, when you're like this and you turn this wrist like that, that opens the elbow, and it actually shortens your bicep too. And that, so it's contracting the bicep a little bit. It shortens that, and then the bicep is attached to the shoulder. It all just creates damage. But when you do this, I didn't know this until I went through rehab for Tommy John, but talking about throwing that slider or curveball, if you're doing this or this on the slider, then you are actually opening right there. When that twists, you're opening up and putting stress on that ligament. And that's why during this rehab, it's one of the last pitches that you're allowed to throw is a slider or a curveball, specifically a curveball, because of the stress of getting out front like that, like this, to get that to turn over that way. It just doesn't work out very well. So anyways, the number one contributor to Tommy John surgery, and I'll end on this note really quickly, because I didn't mean for this video to go a long time, but I think that it's important for parents to know. Number one contributor is year-round baseball. It's extended stress and overworking of the ligament. It's a continuous stress injury. It's a repetitive stress injury. It's not something that normally is going to happen in just one pitch like that. It's usually you built up to that point and you already had a tear, and then boom, it snapped. Finally popped. It's like you have a rubber band in there, and every time you throw a ball, it's slowly fraying a little bit more and a little bit more. If you don't take the rest, then it can't heal. If you don't get enough rest, then you're going to get a big enough tear that the tear can't actually heal, and it has to be surgically repaired. And that's where most surgeries happen, is when you get past the point of rest will fix it. So they say that every year you should take at least 2 months off in a row from throwing. No throwing, done. And I tell all the kids that I do lessons with that they need to take that time off. They all know. And for me, doing pitching lessons, it actually starts to break down a little bit around November, December, January. One of those is the weather. First off, guys, the weather's not good, and that should be a cue for you to just stop throwing. Take your time off. I wasn't good at that. I was competitive, and I always wanted to throw more, and I actually built a bullpen in my backyard as a kid. I threw all year long, and I would go out and bail water off my bullpen so that I could go throw a bullpen. And shocker, I had a surgery. Take care of your arms, guys. There's more that goes into it than just this. And for the guys that I do lessons with, we'll get into that. We'll talk about all the biomechanics and the way your body moves and how to reduce stress on that ligament and everything. Talk about muscle imbalances, all that stuff. Using your legs and your core more to throw instead of just your arms, so we can reduce some of that stress. But you got to do your research, and you got to know how your body works so that you can take care of your arm. As a baseball player, whether you're a pitcher or not, your arm is your lifeline. Without an arm, unless your name is David Ortiz, you're going to have a really hard time continuing the game. And there's nothing, well, there are very few things more frustrating than sitting on the bench for over a year watching your team play and you can't get in the action. I had to go through that. I sat through my entire senior year in college and half of my junior year, and it was hard. It was really hard. I'm glad I stuck it through and spent the time with my teammates and saw it through to the end of my career, but it was a tough time. And so take care of your bodies, guys. Anyways, happy 4th of July. Everybody enjoy Independence Day. Have a good Freedom Day, and I will catch you guys later.